Let's dismantle the hallmark version of the story, shall we? You know the image: 3 well-dressed, elderly men riding camels across a serene desert. They look like they are on a holiday excursion. They look safe. They look certain. Erase that image. It is a lie. The truth is, the journey of the Magi was a terrifying gamble. It was a suicide mission undertaken by the most brilliant scientists of the ancient world. These were men who dared to believe that the truth was too big to be contained by borders, religion, or ethnicity. In a modern world drowning in fake news and tribalism, their story isn't just a Christmas fable. It is a survival guide. It teaches us how to distinguish a true signal from the noise, and how to find a star worth following when the rest of the world is stumbling in the dark. To understand them, you must understand their burden. Imagine Melchior standing on the balcony of a great library in Babylon, or perhaps Persia. He and his companions, Caspar and Balthazar, were the Magi. They were astronomers, kingmakers, the Harvard professors of antiquity. They had mapped the constellations. They had whispered in the ears of emperors, but they were also Gentiles, outsiders. To the Roman Empire, they were mystics from the East. To the rigid religious establishment of Judea, they were unclean, separated from the covenant of God. And deep down, Melchior was bored. He was spiritually starving. He had read every scroll, calculated every eclipse, and predicted the rise and fall of dynasties. Yet he felt a crushing emptiness. He faced the same question that haunts every modern intellectual. Is this it? Is the truth just data, or is there a heartbeat behind the universe? Then, the anomaly appeared. A star, a cosmic disruption that defied their charts. It wasn't just a phenomenon. It was a summons. The decision to leave was not a parade. It was a scandal. Imagine the ridicule of their peers in the academy. You are leaving the royal court to follow a light in the sky. You are going to look for a king in Judea, a backwater province under Roman occupation. This was conflict number 1. The leap from theory to practice. To find the truth, they had to leave the safety of their expertise. They had to trade their silk robes for travel cloaks, their soft beds for the freezing desert floor. They had to become vulnerable. This is where most of us fail. We want the truth, but we want it delivered to our doorsteps via Amazon Prime. We aren't willing to walk the desert for it. The Magi were. They packed their bags, knowing they might never return. After months of travel, the star led them to the region of Judea. Their logic and their bias took over. If a king is born, he must be in the palace. It was a logical assumption, so they went to Jerusalem, to the court of King Herod. Here, the story turns into a political thriller. They walk into the court of Herod the Great. Herod is the ultimate modern politician, paranoid, power-hungry, and insecure. He knows nothing about a new king. He panics. He calls in his own experts, the chief priests and scribes. The scribes open their ancient texts and point a bony finger at a prophecy. Bethlehem, the king will be born in Bethlehem. This is the most tragic irony of the story. The religious experts had the map. They knew the address, but they didn't stand up. They didn't walk the 5 miles down the road to check. The Magi had no Bible, only a star, but they had the hunger. Herod had the power. The priests had the theology, but only the outsiders had the courage to seek. Disillusioned by the apathy of the religious elite and the malice of the politician, the Magi left the palace. The establishment had failed them. The star reappeared, leading them away from the lights of the capital toward a tiny, insignificant village. And then it stopped. Not over a fortress, not over a mansion. It stopped over a barn. Picture the moment Melchior dismounted his camel. He is standing in the mud. The smell of livestock is pungent. The wind is biting. Inside, there is no throne, just a peasant couple and a baby wrapped in rags, lying in a feeding trough. Every logical circuit in their brains must have screamed, "Wrong address. This is a mistake. God cannot be here. God is glorious. This is poverty." This was the final test, the test of expectation versus reality. The world tells us power looks like Herod, gold, armies, influence. But the truth whispered that power looks like this baby, vulnerable, humble, accessible. And then, the Magi did something that defines true wisdom. They didn't argue. They didn't leave in disgust. They knelt. The Greek word is proskuneo, to fall flat on one's face. The smartest men of the East threw themselves into the dirt of a barn floor. In that moment, intellect bowed to mystery. They realized that the God who created the galaxies had made himself small enough to be held. They opened their treasures: gold for a king, frankincense for a deity, and myrrh, a burial spice, for a savior destined to suffer. But the real gift wasn't the commodity, it was the surrender. In a culture of what can I get, the Magi showed us, what can I give? True fulfillment doesn't come from hoarding knowledge or status, like the priests and Herod. It comes from pouring out your best, your talent, your time, your gold, for something greater than yourself. The story ends with a sentence that should send shivers down your spine. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another way. They went home by another way. This is not just a detour on a map. It is a psychological shift. Once you have seen the truth, once you have encountered the authentic, you cannot go back to the way things were. You cannot go back to Herod. You cannot go back to the superficial games of power and politics. You are changed. You are different. Tonight, look at your life. We are all traveling across a desert of sorts. We are all bombarded by the Herods of this world, voices of fear, division, and shallow materialism. And we are all tempted to be like the scribes, sitting comfortably with our knowledge, but never moving our feet. Don't be the scribe. Be the Magi. Be the outsider. Find the star that calls to the deepest part of your soul. Be it a calling, a truth, or a love that demands sacrifice. Follow it, even if it leads you away from the palace and into the messy, unglamorous reality of life. And when you find it, do not be afraid to kneel, for it is only when we are closest to the ground that we can truly see the stars.